Building a healthcare company might look good on paper, but what a lot of people don't talk about are the sacrifices that's made. It's knowing that you have the responsibility of people, of families, and the impact that that means. Hi, welcome to Hugversations. I'm Dr. Marisa Williams. I have lived my career in the intersection of education, service, leadership, and healthcare. I am here in hopes that my triumphs and even my failures will help you to build a better healthcare business. Today, I want to share with you what no one likes to talk about when it comes to building a healthcare business. I want to talk about where leaders fall short, and that impacts healthcare, that impacts families, and it impacts the bottom line. For me, building a successful healthcare business starts with compassion, not revenue. When we talk about compassion, we mean being able to roll up your sleeve and get in there and do what it takes to make sure that that person does not feel that they are alone. It also means following compliance. We are bombarded with regulations. So it means doing things right the first time so that you don't have to worry about redoing them. It means making sure that everyone around you know how to do things the right way. And finally, there's compensation. Not only do we need to make sure that the clinicians are paid, and that means quality clinicians, but we have to pay our team because it takes everybody to make sure that that care reaches the home. All three of these C's need to work in balance in order to have a successful healthcare agency. There was a time when I didn't get that balance exactly right. I stepped away in order to raise my triplets, and this was pre COVID. So when I saw the revenue dropping, I just thought, surely it's the insurance, right? They didn't plan for COVID, and so they're holding back on the compensation. Well, when it was time for me to go back to work, and there was a time when it was either going back to work or shutting my doors. What I found when I returned to my office was that a hugaway did not look like the a hugaway I wanted to build. It looked like every other agency that was in town. Of course, when I stepped back, those that I left in charge hired people with experience. They brought the experience from other companies, and a hugaway wasn't even recognizable. I had to step back in and build a hugaway up from the ground all over again. This took me 2 years before I finally began to see some revenue. There was no one to hire because no one held the vision that I did. I didn't want a hugaway to look like every other agency. I wanted to be able to bring healthcare to the home in a very special way. I wanted to make sure that every patient knew that they were supported and they never had to be alone again. This meant that I had to hire people with no experience and teach them the a hug away way. One thing that people don't talk about is how hard it is to communicate your vision and your mission, especially when you're hiring people without any experience. I spent 2 years trying to communicate this over and over and over. The vision and the mission of a Hugaway is to bring health care to the person wherever in the world they call home. I want to share a funny story with you. I hired a CNA, and of course, this is home health, and we have vehicles. I get a phone call one day, and the CNA asked me, do I have to visit the home in the Woodlands? Now, granted, the Woodlands is an hour away, but she was using a company car, and we do home health. So this told me that my vision was not clearly communicated, and this was very hard. As I hired new people, I had to communicate this over and over again. It was on the forms of everything they filled out. It was on the door when they walked into the building. It was on every meeting that we ever had. I had to communicate that vision and had to make sure that it was a part of our culture. What I've learned over time is that you cannot build a business on compassion alone. You have to include compliance and compensation. All three of those come together and make a perfectly well balanced healthcare company that's built for legacy. There was a time when I leaned too heavily on compassion, and what I realized is I was afraid to say no. Now I know that if a person does not fit into the culture, into the vision that you have for the company, then it is better to say no. It is better to rehire than to keep that person on. It's hard sometimes to say no, but as a leader, we have to balance those things. Building a sustainable business means to consider the people that we serve, the people that we protect, and that includes the employees as well. I want to bring healthcare to every home across the world. And in doing so, I've decided to offer franchise opportunities for a hug away. If you're interested in learning more, please comment below, or you can contact us by visiting our website, www.ahugaway.com. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.